Welcome to What Matters, a podcast that looks inward at unique experiences, upward for divine direction, and outward at God's activity in the world. I'm Michelle Funk, your host, and I'm so glad that you're here with us today. Be sure to subscribe and share the podcast. Our new episodes drop on Wednesdays, so we can call them What Matters Wednesdays.
Mm.
So there you go. Be ready for a new episode each Wednesday as we come around. And I am delighted to introduce you to a new friend of mine.
Yes, a new friend.
Yes, Kris Balderston. Thank you, Kris, for joining us today on the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me because this is something that is out of my box. So if I fumble and my words don't come, it's because I'm thinking over too much.
Absolutely. And the good news is there is grace in all of that.
That's right.
All
Thank
of
you.
that. There is just grace abound. So,
Thank you.
yeah, I'm delighted to have you here. So, just tell us a little bit about Kris.
Okay. Well, I'm married to Bob Balderston. We have three beautiful children, a daughter 33 and boy-girl twins 32, and three grandchildren. Caleb is going to be 1 next month, and Lucas is 4, and Margot is 2. So we just got back from a great vacation, family vacation in Cabo, but with 11 people, it's a trip.
A trip.
Not necessarily a vacation.
What do they call you? What did the great kids call you?
Gigi. I'm Gigi and Papa.
Nice.
And
Okay.
yes.
Good.
So, and I've been a member of CORE for 27 years, I think it is. We were not part of the funeral home,
Yeah.
but we were part of the elementary school.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we were capital campaign managers for the
Yeah.
very first sanctuary. It was wonderful being in the first sanctuary. It was small and intimate, and everybody knew each other.
Yeah.
We did prayers and concerns,
Mhm.
standing up,
Right.
individualized them, and
Out loud. Yeah.
it was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Not that this isn't beautiful,
Yeah.
because it is.
Yeah.
But we've just grown, and we've grown exponentially, reaching out to our neighbors.
Right. Right.
Of your
Of
neighbor.
your neighbor.
And so I've enjoyed growing as more than I ever expected I do, because I don't have the insight that Adam has.
Yeah.
I'm in my little box and always happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and he's such a gifted preacher. We are so fortunate.
Yes.
And he's a real person. He's real, you know.
Yes.
He is who he is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a special thing. And I love hearing that you started in elementary school. You have seen how worship has taken place in all kinds of different settings along the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And I've been a part of different parts of it. I am a part of the ushering team, part of the greeting team, and then just come kind of personally.
Hmm.
We preferred the 5 o'clock because that's the contemporary church
Yeah.
service, because I just love the music.
Yeah.
I love hearing Corey, and I love experiencing him and his joyful singing, jumping.
Right. Yes.
And he sings with joy online or on TV,
Right.
but he's not jumping, and he's not all that energy,
Yeah.
and that's what you don't get. You see
Right.
it on TV, the beautiful Res collection or
Yeah.
collective, but you don't get the one-on-one and the eye
Yeah.
contact
Right.
with him or with
Yeah.
anybody else that's singing, and it's just so delightful. So I love being kind of invisible as much as I can be when people know me at the 5 o'clock church,
Uh-huh.
but I'm a greeter,
Yeah.
and I love greeting because I see older couples holding hands, just kind of spiritually walking in,
Oh.
loving on each other, but loving where they're going,
Mhm.
or families running through the narthex and to the kids' corps, because they're excited to go get kids' corps and get
Yeah.
Jesus with them,
Right.
or the parents going in and just having one-on-one time with each other.
Right.
And I loved when we first came back, when I walked in, and the tears of people's, when they just got to see the magnificent Jesus with his arms outstretched.
On our
Welcome,
window. Yeah.
welcome back.
Right.
And they realized we were safe,
Mhm.
we were divided,
Yeah.
or separated or
Right.
socially, whatever,
Yeah.
socially,
Yeah. Physically
phy-
distanced. Let's put
physically,
it that
okay,
way.
yes.
Yeah.
And so people, you could see, a breath of fresh air. This is going to be okay.
Yeah.
I'm home. I'm
Yeah.
back. And then once the sermon kept, Adam and his sermon, and the service kept going, everybody was just full of joy.
Yeah.
And so I got to greet them and welcome them, but then I got to visualize them or visually see them experiencing. And you don't get
Mhm.
that when you're at home. You're
Yeah.
in your pajamas or any kind of loungewear, and you're drinking a cup of tea or drinking a cup of coffee, and the music's on, and you're hearing the music, but you're not dancing to the music. You're not rocking to the music. You're just kind of hearing the music because your mind's somewhere else or your phone's right here.
Yeah.
And so it's a completely different experience. And I'm going to go back a minute because when Bob and I drive into the parking lot,
Mhm.
I jump out of the car, and if Bob isn't quick enough, I'm 5, 6, 7 steps ahead of him. I go, "Come on, I'm excited. Let's get in there. You know, we're gonna greet, we're gonna usher, whatever our responsibility is. Come on." And he goes, "Okay, okay." And then you get to the parlor and you see all your friends, and we're all doing the same thing for people, welcoming new people.
Right.
It's just such a loving atmosphere,
Yeah.
an experience that it's full body. It's not just listening to the TV. It's
Yeah.
mentally, it's spiritually, it's physically abundant. And it's hard to explain, but it's that exciting to me.
Yeah, yeah. Coming back in person has been such a big deal. And, we're just getting going.
Right,
We haven't been that long in person.
right.
And so this idea of should I come, should I not, all I know there's lots of reasonings, reasons for all those
Mhm.
decisions, but the experiencing worship in person, I love how you're describing it as its full body,
Yeah.
from eye contact to maybe some moving and grooving to seeing other
Yes.
people to really just feeling worship.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
And you can hear Adam's message on TV.
yes,
And
yeah.
you can think you're listening to it, but it doesn't sink in, even though, like this last weekend when he was so emotional about Mother's Day,
Right,
it doesn't sink
yeah,
in as much as when you're physically watching him
yeah,
because his whole body morphs. So we morph with him.
yeah,
And it's just so easy to go, oh, I got that. And
yeah,
then just check your phone. And
yeah.
especially when he says, attendance.
Oh, yeah?
Go to
Right.
cor.next and
Oh,
put your
right.
number in,
Uh-huh.
blah, 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 blah,
Yeah,
blah.
yeah.
Okay, well, there you have your phone. So, oh, this text message pops up or this email pops up. So I find my husband, and the next thing is another song's going on, and I'm trying to sing, and I look at him and I go, Bob, I'm going to throw you under the bus here, but uh, get off
Get
the
get
phone.
off the phone.
And I
No.
think that's real easy to do. We don't,
Mhm.
people bring their phones into church, but they know
Mhm.
that we are surrounded by other worshipers, that it is distracting.
Yeah.
So we're respectful of each other and we are more in sync with hearing and feeling the love of Jesus.
Yeah.
At home, you try to,
Mhm.
but it's just not the same. It's just not that deep.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
not that gripping. And I think everybody needs to feel comfortable with experiencing, and that as an usher is my
Mhm.
responsibility.
Mhm.
If someone is acting like they're going to be too close to somebody, I'm going, here, let me
Mhm.
find you another seat.
Oh, yeah.
Or if someone
Sure.
sits down, and I go and said, do you feel comfortable with this?
Mhm.
And make sure they do. And most of the time they are.
Yeah.
And as it's filling up, I think people more, and the
Mhm.
vaccinations are huge.
Yeah, sure.
When I worked at the stations of the vaccinations,
Mhm.
people were just cheering and going,
Right.
I'm going to go back to church. I can't wait.
Yeah.
And I do believe the numbers are picking up because
Yeah.
of everybody feeling vaccinations.
Yeah, I think all of us, when we considered getting the vaccine, had a list in our minds of, oh, good, because now I feel like I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this.
Right.
Seeing family, seeing what all
Exactly.
everybody has their list. But the idea of having, I can come back to
Church.
church on that
Right.
list is a big deal.
And coming back to church to the section you
I
used to sit in
know, I
with the
know,
people.
I
You
know. You cannot imagine how many times my husband have thought about, I wonder what's happening with, such and such,
Yes,
because we would see them every
that's
Sunday.
right.
And oh, I sure hope when we go back, we're going to get to see them
I
again,
know.
you know?
I know. Because
Yeah.
in our little group, somebody had a heart attack, or somebody
Mm,
had a stroke, or someone's mother was not feeling well, or someone's foot was not right. And I don't have answers to any of those still.
right. Yeah.
Still.
Yeah. You do become your own little community. I bet you see this as people come in. We're creatures of habit, aren't we?
Yes.
Do you see
Yes.
people kind of sitting in the same seat every
Right,
week?
right, or making a beeline. They have to have that exact row
Yeah,
close to the front, on the
yeah,
left side or the right, yes, and I
yeah.
I understand that because I'm a creature of habit,
Yeah, sure. It's natural,
and
isn't
it
it?
it
We
is,
all do that.
it is, and by the way, I wanna mention the whole balcony's open,
Okay.
so it's
Right.
real easy if you feel uncomfortable with
Yeah,
the proximity of people
right.
sitting together. There are quite a few people that are climbing up in that balcony, and it's a
Nice.
pretty doggone view
I
of
know.
Jesus.
Yeah, the whole stained glass window view. You
Oh,
get it.
yes,
Up
yes.
close and
I
personal.
mean, it's just magnificent. And then uh, Adam's sermon is always impactful and meaningful. But also, what I notice is when he's closing and he's giving the announcements,
Mhm.
it's real easy to just go, okay, I have to go to the bathroom,
Yeah,
or I'm going to
yeah.
go get a drink of water.
To tune
And
out.
that's right.
Yeah.
But
You can't do that
you
when
can't,
you're in person because
right.
he'll call. No, I
Yeah,
won't.
right. But my further point is he always announces that there are tables out in the narthex to sign up for
Right,
meals or bookmobile
right.
or what, and you might not be thinking you want to do that, but then
Mhm.
you see someone you recognize and you go say
Mhm.
hello, and then they talk about what they're doing, and then you go, well, maybe I should do that. So the next thing you're signing up for things that you probably wouldn't have done because you would have had to do it on your phone,
Right.
or
Yeah,
someone didn't give you that gentle nudge.
yeah,
And that's happened to me more times than not. And
yeah,
or I really wanted to serve Thanksgiving and I better get there quick to sign up, or somebody it's going to be full.
yeah,
And that'd be very disappointing. So
yeah,
if you don't come back to church, you
yeah.
might not get to do those opportunities of
Right,
volunteerism that you really want to do.
right. Yes, yes. Or like you said, get the gentle nudge that you wouldn't otherwise.
Right, right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
same with the mission trips. I have to share, I don't have to, but I'm going to share
No, you
uh,
have to.
that I was fortunate with my oldest daughter, Corinne, who is the same age as Adam's daughter, Danielle, to
Mhm.
go on the very first missions trip to Honduras,
Wow.
where it was just open landscape
Yeah.
of sort of mountains, sort of pastures. And we dug the very first hole and put the cornerstone rocks
Oh,
of the cornerstone for the church
yeah,
that is now a full community with a
yeah.
dental office and a school and a hospital and Tegucigalpa.
Yes.
And I just think of, wow, how we've grown.
Yeah,
But I would not have done that if I hadn't been present in church.
yeah.
And
And heard the
and that's
invitation and
right.
maybe talk to some people about what do you think or,
Right.
are you going or
Or is it
not?
safe? Do I have the
Yeah.
immunizations? And so,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's just being in church, whether you think you're mature in your faith or not, there's so much growth
Mhm.
because of Adam's wisdom and his enthusiasm that you want to be a part of it
Mhm.
and you want to do something bigger than who you are or who you think you are.
Yeah.
And that to me, that's the coolest thing of being present.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to be. And I want to offer that to everybody out there.
Yeah.
Welcome everybody. And
Yeah.
it's fun to see people that come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know for myself when I have seen people in person, even if I've been seeing them on the screen for a while, I've been involved in some fabulous Zoom classes and groups that we meet online. So we have seen each other,
Right.
but then to see them in person has just been really sweet and
Right.
wonderful and makes it just warms the heart to know you really are okay. And,
Isn't
here
yes,
we are kind of toward the end of this.
and
Yay.
it's getting better.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to your Zoom comment. We've been doing Disciple on Zoom,
Mhm.
and we've been doing Disciple for 5 years together.
Yeah.
And being on Zoom and people asking for prayers
Yeah.
still doesn't feel the same as being
Mm.
in the same room. They
Yeah.
have the same emotion that they're delivering,
Yeah.
but even you and I expressing what we're doing now is so much more heartfelt than watching it on TV
Yeah.
or watching it on Zoom.
You pick up all of the other cues,
Yes.
the leaning forward,
Yeah.
all of the clues that we give with regard to how
Yes.
we communicate and how we feel.
Right.
You get much more of that.
And the
Yeah.
prayers are usually are more relaxed and probably more well spoken because we feel each other's energy in
Yeah.
the same room
Yeah.
versus a screen. And I'm so computer illiterate that Bob usually gets me all situated. And then if something goes wrong, and I go, okay, well, then I guess you lose me. So that's not something I like. And the same
Yeah.
thing with TV. Um, there they are.
Yeah.
And they're pouring out their hearts and soul, and
Mhm.
they're not getting the response back from the personalization
Yeah.
of being there.
People. Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
I applaud every one of them and the hard work and all the
Mhm.
technicians that has been going on to
Oh,
keep us
yeah.
in
Oh, yeah, it
service.
has certainly kept us together. I remember at the beginning of the pandemic when it was really frightening. I mean, it was scary, right? Every day there was a new announcement and a new closure and a new, it was
Right.
really scary time. And watching service online and seeing Adam, our senior pastor, who, I'm a member of the church for 20 years as well. So,
Oh,
a very
okay.
familiar person and seeing him. And it was meaningful for me, even through the screen, because he looked right at the screen, so right at me, and said, "It is going to be okay."
Right.
I remember just tearing up then
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm.
I needed to see that. I needed to hear that. And I know we were distanced and it was through technology, but so it has been really meaningful, to be able to have experienced that over the past year.
Right.
Otherwise, it would have just been
I
nothing.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
The tech crew,
Oh, yeah. All
the
of that.
musicians, everybody that puts this together
Yeah.
it's an enormous undertaking,
Yeah.
and I don't belittle that whatsoever.
Yeah.
And for people that live in Europe and all the places
Right.
that he
It is
says
pretty
that
amazing.
wow.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
giving that we're
I
getting because of it
know.
is
Yeah.
magnificent.
Yeah.
So I don't belittle any of that,
Right. No.
but I they can't come from Europe to come
Yeah. Yeah.
experience
Yeah.
what we
It's a
see in
long
Kansas City.
commute.
Yeah.
It's just a long commute, isn't it?
So I'm not belittling that, but
No, no.
if you're in Kansas City
Yeah.
area,
Yeah.
there is no finer place than
Yeah.
that beautiful sanctuary right
Yeah. Yeah.
there.
Well, even I'm like you, I attended at some of our other previous sanctuaries, right?
Right.
And I remember when we first attended Church of the Resurrection, my husband and I looked at each other and said, "There's just something in the air here." And so then we came back and then
Mm,
we came back and then we came back. And so it's hard to have that sense of there's something in the air when you're at home. But I know too that there are many people who have really experienced worship just in a new way,
mm, mhm.
through the TV service and like extended. My mom has watched the TVs, my dad has watched the TV, whereas they wouldn't normally do that because they have their own church families. So but but there's something in the air, and I think that's what you're describing
It
when you come back into our church building, even in the parking lot.
Yeah, that's right, that's exactly right. I have to share something I heard, um, this week from a dear friend.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I heard this: "If you can see God's greatness, you can experience God's goodness."
Mm,
And what I got from that is we experience God's greatness just by looking outside with the gorgeous sunrises,
right.
sunsets, and the just the magnitude of all of his creation. But we don't always look at it in a spiritual way or a thoughtful way because we're always going about our business.
Yeah,
But if we all stop and really think about the greatness, not just the natural, but just his greatness of what he brings to us mentally and spiritually,
yeah,
we feel his goodness, so we offer his goodness. And
yeah,
that's what we are so good at
right.
Church of the Resurrection.
Yeah,
And I just thought, man, I really wanted to sit and ponder that because again, that when Adam does the call to action, you know, we have so much goodness within the walls of this church,
yeah,
and we are so good about sharing that goodness outside the walls of this church. So I
right.
thought that was pretty fun.
Me too.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
saying.
I have a really good dear friend that I work out at the gym with, and she's a very spiritual person. She doesn't not a member here, so she brings
Mhm.
her little sermon notes when I bring my little
Uh-huh.
sermon notes, and we're our stairmaster together, and we're sharing our love for Jesus, and
That's so
it's
fun.
really easy to work out when you're with God.
Absolutely. That's so
It
fun.
is. It's just it's my joy every morning. So
Yeah,
and so that's what I had to
yeah.
share that.
Oh, yeah.
And our church is a strong fortress. Together, we are mighty Christian soldiers.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought that, and that's what he calls us to be.
Right,
And then
right,
we go out and we do that. So
right, and it's better together.
it's better together,
Yeah, it
and
just
that's
is.
why what I want to get to know more people,
Mhm.
and the more they come back, the more I get to know more people, and
Yeah,
then we can I think this is small group people that he's trying to get together, more small groups, and
yeah,
um, we need to speak more about that
yeah.
because are you in a small group?
Uh-huh.
I'm in a,
Yeah,
and I think we are going on 20 years of
yeah.
small group.
No.
We're on I think one of our last high school graduations. And I mean, to
Yeah,
live the families together and
yeah,
bring us all together,
yeah,
it's such a joy. And that's
yeah,
Adam
yeah.
and his
Yeah, and the teaching of our church, community, it's just really all about community. And then just like you're saying, reflecting God's love, God's goodness, God's grace outwardly to others, loving our neighbors. It's
yes.
just that is exactly what we're called to
It's
do.
changed me. Our
Yeah.
church has mentally and physically has changed me. It's interesting because when I go to the gym, I make sure I thank everybody that's folding a towel or wiping off a machine or just doing the small things.
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
used to do that before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would never even think about doing that before. It's make a beeline to the machine I want,
Uh-huh.
you know?
Yeah.
So I've become cognizant of everybody else's feelings and
Mhm.
needs and desires, and I want to fulfill them all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and you're doing the small things by greeting and ushering, and those things make a big
yeah,
difference for
yeah.
each person
Oh,
who's
thank you.
experiencing
Thank you.
worship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, if you're the friendly smile that greets me at the door, I'm going to do like you and start running from the parking lot.
Yeah.
Just keep up with me.
Good.
I have to tell you though, just a funny story. So we have 3 kids. They're young adults now, but when they were little, we would come to church, they would go to their Sunday school rooms, my husband and I would attend, and it was exactly like you said. It was like just a time for us to be us, he and I. We would attend worship, and then we would go up and get our kids, and that was at the time when we moved into Building B
Ah,
and the big narthex area, this open area just outside of the sanctuary. We would go up and get the kids, bring them down to this big open area. Well, apparently the kids had used up all their good and all their be still energy, and they would start darting around. And
yes,
so it became this, just grab a kid, lower your head, and let's get out of here
right.
before we hurt somebody. So we had a few years of that. We had lovely leisure time during worship service, and then get out of here and get home
And
right
and
after.
that was before all the high security,
Yeah.
all the big check-ins and all that, because
Oh, man.
I taught Sunday school
Those were
back
the
then.
days.
Yes, it was so relaxed
Those
and
were the
so
days.
wonderful. It was
Yeah.
just amazing.
Yeah.
So I don't envy young parents these
Yeah.
days.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap up. Final thoughts.
Okay,
Yeah.
I do have a
Oh,
final.
good. Okay.
I in my study, I think it was yesterday, Psalm 93:5. Your statutes, Lord, stand firm. Holiness adorns your house for endless days. The statutes are just and firm wherever you are, yet we feel them, hold on to them, act on them after hearing them in his house. How
Mhm.
apropos for our
Right.
thoughts today.
Right.
I thought
Yeah.
I just had to read that.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody come back to church. Yeah.
Everybody come
Just
back to
come
church.
back.
I just
It's
wanna see you
time.
all.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
Oh, Kris, thank you. Thank
oh,
you for
thank you.
sharing your love for worship, your love for our church, your love for the word, your love for how transformational it all is. And
Thank
that's
you.
what it's all
Thank you
about.
for asking me because I
Yeah.
never would have done it.
Yeah. See? One more new thing.
I know.
Yeah, yeah. That's great. That's great. Well, that's what matters about coming back to church, attending church in person, and just how meaningful it can be. So you all are invited. Kris and I will see you there.
Come.
Thanks for joining
Welcome
us.
all.
That's great. So what service are you attending now? Is it the
Well,
9 or the
9
11?
o'clock
Yeah,
because it's
yeah.
still the more contemporary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. I'm like you. I love the contemporary
Are you?
music. I do. And I have good friends and they love the traditional. I totally get that, but I just get really wrapped up in
Yes.
the
Yes.
contemporary music and the energy from it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't like to get up.